Hi, my name is Peter Mo, and I'm from Tourism Ireland's Nordic office in Copenhagen. Today we will be talking about something a bit out of the ordinary, namely Irish mammies, or Irish mothers, and the kitchen and tea culture. We have the perfect person with us here today to enlighten us on this curious subject, Ciara McCaughey from Vintage Tea Tours. Now, Ciara, you're very welcome to our show today. Would you mind telling our listeners how did the idea of this unique vintage tea trips where you're traveling around Dublin in a double-decker bus come about?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's very exciting. Yeah, so the idea came from this idea on love of kind of old Irish, namely the quintessential Irish kitchen. So, like you said, the whole experience happens on a 1960s vintage Routemaster bus. It's a double-decker bus, and we have seating on the upper and the lower deck. And when you come on board, the moment you see the bus, you're instantly transported back to a time when tea and chats reigned supreme. Tea is so important to the Irish in the sense that when we're happy, we drink it. When we're sad, we drink it. It has health benefits. So we really want to get that across when you're on board with us at Vintage Tea Trips. So the branding of the bus and the what we do on board comes from that quintessential Irish kitchen. The buses themselves are named after Karen, who's the owner of Vintage Tea Trips. Two of them are named after her grannies, Pauline and Kitty, and our third bus that we just launched in January this year is named after her great aunt. So, like us on board, there was always tea and cake on the table. You were invited in no matter who you were. You could have been the postman or the Pope. There was no airs and graces. Come in for a cuppa, slice of cake, and we'll have a wee gossip about the neighbours down the road. So that's the kind of idea
So that's
of
the
what we
concept
do.
behind the whole.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's afternoon tea the Irish way. You don't have to be on your best behaviour. It's not. You can put your elbows on the table. We don't mind. Just a bit of crack on board. Get involved. Laugh. Wave out at the others. It's not a stuffy experience. Yeah, it is really afternoon tea the Irish way.
Yeah, what does tea mean for the Irish? I mean, and what is afternoon tea the Irish way? As in, can you expand a bit? It's not high tea with small cakes or anything like that?
It is afternoon tea in the sense of your cakes, your sandwiches, and your scones. So it is that, but like I said, you don't have to be in your best behavior. When you think of afternoon tea, sometimes it can be quite a stuffy experience. Something that you do, you get dressed up and, it's quiet and it's very refined. We're not like that. We have hosts on board who all hail from all around Ireland, Dubliners, we've people from Kerry, Longford, and they really give that Irish unique experience that you kind of only get on the island of Ireland. You could be sat in their kitchens chatting to them about whatever it is, So when you come on board, they're there to welcome you on board. They share stories of Dublin and its characters as we drive around. It's not a history lesson. It's not dates and names and numbers that you have to try and remember. It's stories that you're not really going to get anywhere else. So like that, it's a bit of a gentle gossip. It's a bit of, did you know that? And we encourage everyone to get involved in the stories as well. So that if we have Irish on board, which happens a lot, that they're sharing their stories of their granny who worked in Guinness or their granddad that worked, and in Cleary's or whatever it was,
Hmm.
So it's really to get involved and to chat.
Okay, so it's kind of an insight into Irish culture in the terms of it's an informal setting. You sit and enjoy a cup of tea or coffee and enjoy yourself
We
or
won't throw
while
you off the bus if you have coffee.
perfect. That's a good point. But I mean it's more that it's an informal chat that you kind of get to experience what it's like to be inside an Irish kitchen. While actually
Absolutely.
in your case at the simultaneously being able to get a tour around Dublin, seeing the sights in a quite cool vintage
Yeah.
bus to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And as well, we like what us Irish are great at is storytelling. We have such a great
Mm.
and rich heritage and culture of stories that are passed down from our mammies and grannies and great aunts and all that passed down to us. So when we give our hosts on board, you know, the history or whatever, what they want or what we want to talk about, we actually just say to them, you go away, do a bit of research. What stories do you want to talk about and bring on board? To really make sure that that atmosphere of storytelling is unique, that they're not just rattling off something that they learned off by heart from a script and, while they're talking, they're thinking about something else. They're really engaged in the stories that they're telling about Dublin.
Mm.
And if you were to come on and have Daniel as your host, come on 2 weeks later and have Anna as your host, or Kira or Selma or whoever it is, you're going to get a different experience each time because they're talking about what they love about Dublin.
Okay, interesting. And just to get back to the more tea element, so what does Irish, or sorry, what does tea mean for the Irish? As in,
So tea is so important to the Irish, and I don't think a lot of people know that from talking to the international industries that I meet at the Fáilte Ireland events or whatever it is. But tea is so important to us. We're I think one of the highest consumers of tea in the world. There's an ongoing battle in every Irish kitchen about if you drink Barry's or if you drink Lyons. Now we serve Barry's on board, not Lyons, but there is this ongoing debate. And even when we ask people ourselves, it kind of is a little bit 50-50, but it is one of those things that will never be settled. I don't think it will ever be settled. So it's a proper Irish cup of tea that you get on board. And we really encourage people to try it because people think they know, I'll get a green tea or I'll get a whatever. No, try the Irish breakfast tea. It is the best in the world, if I do say so myself. And we are pros at making it. But yeah, tea is so important to us. We drink it. I mean, I myself have 3 cups a day. Like I know that guests on board have up to 10 cups a day. It's insane, and it's a real sign of friendship and love as well. If you know how your best friend, how your other half, how your cousin,
mm,
whatever it is, how they take their tea. Because there's only a few people I'll let make me a cup of tea. Do you know? Because if you get tea wrong, no. You think it's just putting a tea bag in hot water? No, no, no. So it's a real sign of love and friendship if you trust someone to make you a good cuppa.
okay, now I have to. So I know you have your own definition of what's a good cup of tea, but then what's a more general Irish tea? Is it just Irish breakfast tea? Is it milk and sugar, or is it?
Yeah. So yeah, I just take a little bit of milk. Some people put in sugar. That's up to them. I think it spoils the lovely taste. But sure, each to their own. But yeah, so number one, scald your cup. Put hot water in it before you do anything. Get rid of that hot water. Put the tea bag in boiling water. Let it draw or seep or whatever word you use. Stir it around a bit. Take the tea bag out and then milk it to your liking.
Fair enough.
Scald the
Fair enough.
cup. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, I mean, scald the cup. That's probably what's new to most people who don't drink as much tea. I drink quite a lot of tea, but I don't think I
Mhm.
ever scald my cup. Uh, I don't know why.
Yeah, it's a trick of
Um,
the trade.
Trick of the trade. Well, that's good to know. That's exactly what we want to hear and learn here. So I get that. Well, the tea experience in Ireland is that it's a cozy setting, informal. It's not like high tea. It's not very formal. It's just so informal and focused around the people you're with. So it's basically about chatting. That's what you do in the,
Yeah,
I guess, mommy's kitchen.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So we encourage people. So, like I said, it's not fully guided tour because we understand the need to natter and chat over a cup of tea and your food and stuff like that. So we do leave them alone for them to chat amongst themselves. We do
Mm,
also engage with them on a one-to-one basis. We come up and ask them like, what are you celebrating on board, or you know, what brings you to Ireland. So the other day we had an 83rd birthday on board, and he was an ex Dublin bus driver, but he learned to drive on the Route Master buses that we use when he was in London. So it was a real special occasion for him to be on board and to, hear his story and to be able to kind of, transport him back to that time. Like he got on the
mm,
bus and he was like, oh my God, he was just hit by that nostalgic feeling of his youth, and his
mm.
grandkids were the same. Like even though that they didn't grow up in the 60s, they also have that crash of nostalgia when you walk through the door. Like it is a beautifully vintage bus with the half cab at the front and the open back platform. So no matter what age group you are, that feeling of nostalgia does hit you.
Okay.
So we also encourage the guests to kind of chat amongst themselves. And some of our best tours are when, the Americans that are on board are going then for a pint with the Irish on board because they were sat across from each other and they were chatting and they got to, oh, come here, no, you think that's a good pint of Guinness? No, we'll bring you for a hidden gems, you know? So they're the best tours when it's really like everyone's involved, everyone's talking, and then they go off for a drink afterwards.
Hmm. So it's all about the chat.
It is, it's all about the chat. Like, we love to chat, and our hosts, like, they love to chat. So ask them like where they'd recommend to go for dinner after the tour, where they think the best pint of Guinness is, other attractions to do in Dublin, because we encourage them to get out there as well, so that if you do chat to them, they've kind of done it all, and they can really recommend you then a good experience for afterwards.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, I miss, but going back to the more the concept through then of Irish tea and the Irish kitchen and like the homeliness in that sense. So, what do you have with Irish tea? Do you just do you have a bit of sponge cake? What is it?
So yeah, so our menu is a mix of your savouries and your sweets. So we have two sandwiches that are served on sliced pan bread, so gorgeous, fresh, a white and a wholemeal. So you have your classic traditional egg mayo, which is delicious, and we really pack the filling in, so it's like a proper big sandwich.
Mm.
And then the other one is a coronation chicken, so it's like a kind of chicken curry. It's absolutely gorgeous. And we serve as well two brioche buns, ploughman's pickle, they're called. So it's Irish relish, ham, cheese, and salad. And again, they're absolutely to die for.
And is that what you would have had growing up, kind of, or
Yeah, so like plate of sandwiches, no matter if you were at a family reunion, a funeral, your friends coming over, get the sliced pan, get some ham, and
serve up a plate of
make your
sandwiches?
sandwiches
Yeah.
served in a triangle.
Okay. Fair
Yeah.
enough. I've never done that before, but it sounds
Oh, the
fun.
taste best. Yeah, taste best is a triangle because that first bite from the top triangle is delish.
From the center of
Um,
the bun
yeah.
or the bread, yeah.
And then we also serve the Irish fruit scone. So it's your regular scone with raisins in it. And our buses, now they are from the 1960s, but we do have an oven on board. So we serve them warm halfway through the tour.
Ooh, that's
The
lovely.
smell, yeah, and that kind of smell as well. So that kind of feel nostalgia that I was talking about. Not only do you get that from seeing the bus, from hopping on board the bus and walking up the stairs at the back, but you're that smell of the kit of that, your Irish mammy's kitchen of, the fresh bread, the fresh whatever. So we've the fresh scones, and they're every time I go in, I'm like, no, I'm not having a scone today, and then I smell them, I'm like, okay, I'll take half a scone then. But they're delicious. So that's served with clotted cream, Irish jam, and then the infamous Irish salted butter.
So sorry, what is clotted cream?
So clotted cream is like a type of cream that's like it looks crazy. Like so, we get some people opening and they're like, I think like, is this what it's supposed to look like? And we're like, yeah, yeah, give it a good mix and then pop it on. And then another kind of debate we have on board is what goes on first, the cream or the jam. I like cream and then jam, but then some people do jam then cream. But
I just don't think I still understand what clotted cream is. So it's a kind of
so it's almost it's quite gooier, if that makes sense, rather than fresh cream,
okay.
and it spreads better. And
So it's kind of like as in you would have in a cake, or is it like whipped cream or
I don't know the process of how it's made, but it's more compact. It almost looks like butter,
okay.
and it could be served in a little tub, and you open it, and
Fair,
that's
fair,
why
fair,
I
fair.
always recommend people to give it a mix up, and then you pop it on then your scone or whatever.
Okay.
It's delicious.
Interesting. I'll have that next time.
Yeah. And then as well, of course, we have our sweets. So we have a selection of 6 desserts. It works out at three per person, but they're nice sizes, so they're big sharing desserts. So there's plenty of food for everyone. So there's a coffee opera, which is my favorite. It's sort of like a tiramisu. We have lemon tart, a red velvet with buttercream frosting. It's really good. And I know that sounds like a lot of food, and it is, but we have takeaway boxes that you can take your leftovers home with.
Nice. Nice. And is I was gonna ask, what would be the type of cake that you would have been served as a kid when having tea?
One of the ones that comes to mind first, I suppose, is one that we'd always have at Halloween, Samhain. So it's the barn brack. So it's
Bambrack, yeah.
actually a tea cake. So it's like you steep your dried fruit in tea and then bake it in. Usually there's a ring inside it as well, so they bake in a ring, a piece of cloth. I can't remember what else they pop into it, and then whoever gets the ring,
Coin,
coin, yeah,
and I think
um,
some other stuff that varies by region. Yeah. If anyone is
yeah,
curious, you can go back and listen to the Halloween podcast
yes,
that we
there you
did.
go. Nice
But yeah,
ring.
okay, fair enough. Barn bracket. That sounds
That's
good.
kind of something that would have always have been there. And we actually do, so the week of Halloween, we would serve that on board just as a,
Mm.
not taking out one of the desserts and supplementing it, but just as a piece of history as well on
Yeah,
board
of
that
course.
will, and we have to be like, somebody will get the ring, so be careful. But yes, so that and biscuits as
Just
well
for
was a big
anyone
thing.
curious, if you get the ring, that means you're up next to get married.
Yeah. If you get the piece of cloth, I think you were going to join the
Priesthood.
nuns or the
Or
priesthood.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Just keep eating
then
it.
there is a coin for money or for riches, and then I can't remember if there is one for death.
Oh God, I hope not.
I don't remember. It's been a while.
But yeah, so that and then biscuits were a big thing as well. The sponge cake, all that kind of stuff, you know. But
Mm.
home baking was a huge thing. It still is a huge thing in Ireland. Like we really do have the best food producers, I think, in the world. So home baked goods was kind of what you'd get in your granny's kitchen or the mammy's kitchen.
Fair enough. What's your favorite uh, treat or experience with tea?
I'm a real savory person. So scone is about as kind of sweetness as it gets with my cup of tea. But I
Mm,
love a cup of tea on its own after my dinner, especially if it's a salty dinner. A cup of tea after that is just magic. Or if I'm swapped my tea for something else the night before and I'm very hungover, the first thing I do when I wake up is I make a cup of tea and it's a cure. It's a hangover cure.
I'll have to ask then. So maybe some more people will learn how to do your cup of tea. So
There you go.
how do you take it? So what's the
So,
process for your own tea? Like, what do you do?
boil the kettle. I like a big mug. I like a nice, if you're going to give me
Mhm.
tea in a little teacup, no, take it back. I need a big mug that I can put my hands around. All that, tea bag in, boiling water, not hot water, boiling water. Leave it in for about 2, 3 minutes. Lift it out. Don't no need for squeezing. You'll just get it too bitter. Lift it out and then pop in your milk. I like it kind of cardboardy, bit darker than cardboard. That's how I take
Okay.
it. I'm telling you, it just, you know, when you wake up hungover and you're a little bit, you know, your mouth's a bit dry and you're a bit thirsty, it
Mm.
just cuts through all that and then you're ready for the rest of your day.
Fair enough. And which tea was that? That was the
Berries,
berries. Okay. And the other one was the competitor in
Lyons.
Ireland was Lyons. Okay.
Yeah. And Barry's is brewed in Cork, which is about 3.5, 4 hours outside of Dublin in the south of Ireland. So Barry's is brewed there.
Okay. And just a quick question here. Do you think it's a good idea to ask people what their favorite brand of tea is in Ireland? Is that a good conversation starter?
So do you know what? Actually, we go down to Cork every couple of months with the bus. So kind of every 3 months. We're going down in June for 3 back-to-back weekends. I bring the bus down, and in our introduction, because they're very loyal to Barry's down there, there's probably no debate down in Cork about what tea you're using in your kitchen. But we actually say introduction as a joke, and yes, we have whatever on board, and we have coffees and herbal teas, and we have juice, and of course we have Lyons tea on board. And when they stand up, they start screaming. They're like, "Stop this bus! I'm getting off!" But then we're like, "Jokes, jokes, jokes. It's Barry's, it's Barry's." So we don't ask them down in Cork because we just assume that they're all Barry's heads. And when we do make that joke, there's murder in their eyes. They just go back to Dublin, off witches. But yeah, so we don't really ask on board, but we love that kind of, especially with international guests, explaining this to them and explaining the
Mm,
love of Irish tea and the graw for Irish tea that we have, especially on board.
fair enough. I'd say then the tip would be for someone visiting, you should try both. But I think
Yeah,
it would be a fun conversation starter. Probably suss out the crowd before you mention which
yeah,
one is your favorite.
yeah. And it's so funny. So obviously, like, there's a lot of Irish, emigrate to the likes of the US, Australia, England. Like half of their suitcase, I swear to God, is tea bags. They're taken out, to bring with them.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah. In the office here in Copenhagen, we found a place that sells berries tea, so we have that, and I think we actually also have Lions
See?
tea, just for
You'll have to do a taste test and let me know how you go on.
will do. So what you do at Vintage Tea Tours is you basically take people around in a bus and show them Dublin, and I guess in some cases Cork. Do you go other
Yeah.
places than Dublin and Cork?
Dublin and Cork just at the moment, but we
Okay,
would love to kind of go to Kilkenny, Galway as well in the future.
okay. And then you get served basically an afternoon tea while riding around the bus with a guide that tells their best stories of the
Yeah,
area, but
yeah.
personally connects with them while you all sit and have a chat. Do you have to join as two people, or can it be
No,
groups
so we
or
take bookings
independent?
independence. We take bookings from 1 up to 38, so the bus can fit 38. So yeah, we've bookings for 1, we've couples, we have bookings of any kind of numbers. It's
Hmm.
really up to the group. But yeah, if you're a solo traveler, absolutely, we'll sit and chat with you as well.
Fair, fair. I mean, you say it's a bus, so I'm assuming that you sit um back to back, I guess, or not back to well, that you look at
So
someone else's back, but
they're
I'm
almost
guessing
done.
you've put tables instead in the middle.
Yeah, so they're done like booths. So
Okay,
there's booths of table, just the tables of twos, and then booths of four. So
okay.
tables of two would be sat beside each other, and then the booths of four would be facing each other, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
It'd be a bigger table, so two on each side facing each other. The seats on the upper deck at the very, very front of the bus, we call them our VIP seats because you have the 360 view. You have the view right in front of you, and you have the view to the left. So we always say, like, you can pretend you're driving the bus when you're sat there, because it's just open road in front.
Fair enough, fair enough. And how long does a tour take?
So it takes about 70 to 80 minutes, depending
Okay.
on traffic. And in that time, we do take in the main sites of Dublin. So it is a really gorgeous route. So, we go by Guinness's. We go into and around Phoenix Park, O'Connell Street, Trinity, Merrion Square, George in Dublin, Stephen's Green, and then up past the two cathedrals, St. Patrick's Cathedral and Christchurch Cathedral. So it's a fabulous route. There is the option for longer hire of the bus with private hires for larger groups as well.
Fair. Do you have any Irish words or sayings that you would like to share with us?
I suppose the most important one would be ar wallat an cupán té, and that just means would you like a cup of tea? And the answer is always tá.
I mean, I can say ta, but I'm not. How? What was the other one again?
Ar wallat cupán té?
Erwalat kapante?
Would you like a cup of tea?
Was it correct what I
Yeah,
said?
it was perfect.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm still learning a bit of Irish here and there. It's not very easy, but
No,
it's interesting and
it
fun.
is. It is. It's gorgeous language.
Do you have any tips for anyone wanting to experience this kind of, well, let's call it an Irish mammy atmosphere
Yeah.
that you have? So where would you go and buy, like, where would you go to buy the tea, or where would you go and get a scone or
So
anything really?
if you're coming to Ireland and you want to, get involved in that kind of quintessential Irish kitchen, the Irish mammy, talk to the locals about where to go. You know, talk to
Yes.
like do some research and yeah, read all the blogs and all that, but really talk to the locals. Where can I get a good cup of tea here? Where can I get a good scone here? Where's the best scones that like the most freshly baked scones? Talk to the
Hmm.
locals. If you're in the pub, sit up at the bar and ask them, what should I do tomorrow? Where should I go? Like I'm sure half the time they'll probably invite you back to their house for a cup of tea, But that's it. Just get involved and talk to the locals. I think that's the best thing you can do. We really are friendly.
No, and I think that's perfect advice, especially because it is gonna vary from where you are
Yeah,
and what you'd like to do. And it's yeah, it's all about trying to capture that, well, that afternoon tea atmosphere, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah. And lastly, where and how can our listeners get in contact to find more about what you have on offer?
Yeah, so we have our website. It's www.vintageteatrips.ie. You can book online there. If you prefer to talk to us to book, you can call us on 01 255 1777. And then, of course, we're on Instagram at Vintage Tea Tours. And then our Facebook is Vintage Tea Trips. There's just a little bit of a mix up with the name because we rebranded in 2019, but we wanted to keep our original Insta.
Okay, that's where the confusion come from.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're on TikTok as well, so that's really taking off, and we're seeing a huge influx of bookings from there. I think you can really kind of, through that medium and that platform, show the interiors,
The
the
uniqueness.
exteriors, and the uniqueness, absolutely, and the personalities of our hosts and our drivers as well.
So a top tip there for anyone who's curious about vintage tea trips. go to their
check it
TikTok
out.
page, have a look, have a gander, and have a look at their Instagram page as well. I have to say personally, it's very, very nice.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for joining me here today, Ciara.
Thank you so much for having me.
I look forward to visiting you in Ireland and having a cup of tea with you.
I'll make you a proper one.